This story begins with our protagonist Arel, sitting and watching his family members speak so warmly. At that moment his father comments to him that he is very calm about it. Quite the opposite to Arel himself, who has been so nervous about what kind of class he will be blessed with that he could barely sleep. His mother also mentions that she is more nervous for him than she was when it was her big day. The little older sister stands up and exclaims that Arel is the best little younger brother she could ask for. So she is completely sure that they will grant him the most incredible class. In response to this, his mother mentions that that means Arel will become popular with the girls. This obviously annoys the northerner, who refuses to allow this, saying that he is still far too young to have a girlfriend. For his part, our protagonist listens to all this from very far away, thinking about that which they call classes. It is then that something is explained to us. In this world, the class is something with which the goddess blesses people. Upon turning 10 years of age, the goddess grants each person a class in a ritual of blessings. After that, they become capable of acquiring skills appropriate to their classes. Thus we shift panels. In the church of the city, all the citizens are gathered to witness the ritual of blessings. The evaluator begins the ritual. One by one, the children go forward. Some receive classes such as blacksmith, farmer, swordsman, and among other things. Arel watches as his turn is approaching. From behind, his sister gives him reassurance, saying that lineage has much influence on one's class, so he will surely obtain a good one. Right at that moment, the evaluator calls the next person. It is Arel's turn. His parents and sisters wish him the best of luck. As he advances, they advise him to keep calm. Our protagonist, as indifferent as always, advances slowly. The people in the church let loose various comments. Some, when they see Arel, murmur that there goes Leon's son. Another says that this family is hard to forget, that ever since 2 advanced classes got married, these being Arel's mother, the princess of the Swordfara, and his father, the Archmage Leon. Bearing this in mind, they state that Arel, as the child of both, will obviously be someone superior, someone privileged. The evaluator begins the protocol. He asks him to close his eyes, for God will grant him visions of his class. Arel does as instructed correctly. However, when he closes his eyes, he lets it be known that he does not see anything. This puzzles the evaluator. He does not understand why he sees nothing at all. To all this, he finds only one explanation. He posits that Arel is someone without a class. All those who are expectant are astonished at this comment. His family, specifically his sister, refuses to accept this, saying that it is a lie, but Arel, as indifferent as usual, simply scratches his face. With all this having transpired, Arel and his family are back at home. We see him practicing the handling of the sword. His mother and father try to encourage him, saying that it does not matter that he has no class, that both of them will go on working even after retiring so that he will not have to force himself to get a job. So they also see no reason whatsoever for him to think of dying. Arel denies that he has any intention of doing that, but his sister arrives just then and asks him not to lose his composure, that she, as the older sister, will always support him, no matter how rebellious he might become. Our black-haired boy, realizing they are not paying attention to him, sits with them and insists that he is not discouraged. He highlights that he has been studying fencing with his mother since he was little. And while it would be easier to become strong with a class such as swordsman and to acquire skills with the sword, with this he does not rule out the fact that he can make himself stronger by training just as he has been doing up to now. In this way we see a memory of when he tried to train with his mother, for that wild one sent him flying onto a tree with a single sword swing. Arel states that hard work is important, so even if he has neither class nor skills, he does not intend to get discouraged. His determination moves his family, who support him from the bottom of their hearts, saying that he will go very far. Our protagonist gets tired of hearing the same thing as always, so he goes to the training grounds. Upon arriving at the place, he sees some boys practicing fencing while they comment that having skills is great, since they feel as if their bodies were moving on their own. Just then they notice his presence and one recognizes him as the classless boy. They ask him what he is doing in that place. Arel answers that he came to train like everyone else. However, upon hearing this, the cocky brats let him know that they are swordsmen, so they have no need to train and only came to check their skills. One tells him he will give him a demonstration. In such a manner we see both brats brandishing their swords and exchanging blows. With this combat being so deplorable, Arel mentions to us that the first skill swordsmen learn is basic fencing, and that it appears that merely having that already makes them fairly capable fighters. With a defiant attitude, Arel asks the cocky brat if he wants a match against him. The brat laughs, saying that he will not have a chance, since it is a classless one against a swordsman. Arel, with a serene attitude, assures him that he will be a good rival. The brat, feeling underestimated, agrees to have a match, but first he wants to make sure to know whether Arel has divine protection. Arel answers that he does. Then it is explained to us that divine protection is another blessing received from the goddess, but unlike classes, everyone receives it from birth. In detail, it is explained that the protection is like a transparent net that protects the body and absorbs damage. Nevertheless, receiving many blows can make it run out, and one always feels a certain amount of pain. Having made sure of this, the brat tells him that now at last he will be able to give him a beating and he will not die. Our protagonist provokes him, so the annoyed brat charges at him. Our black-haired boy blocks the attack and deflects it, which amazes the brat. However, this enrages him even more. Therefore he swings his sword. Arel manages to dodge this, and when the brat attacks him, he blocks the strike with ease. The other tells the brat to hurry up and finish him, although the brat tries. Each and every one of his attacks is blocked and dodged. Annoyed at not being able to defeat Arel, he asks the other to help him. The other obliges him. Like a coward, he attacks our protagonist in the back. Arel, noticing this, evades the attack by moving to the side. Seeing how interesting the situation has become, he says in his mind that being close to his level of skill definitely makes them good practice partners. While those two argue, he wonders whether skills do not help to improve other capacities such as group tactics, because if that is the case, those two might not be enough for him. At great speed he runs toward them. The brat realizes and warns his companion, but when that one turns around he does not see our protagonist anywhere. All of a sudden he receives a blow to the chin and falls unconscious. The brat calls Arel a bastard, but when he tries to advance he trips over his companion's body, a situation that Arel does not fail to take advantage of, and he finally puts him on the ground. With both of them thrown on the ground, Arel declares himself the winner, but those two quickly get up and start complaining and making excuses that he waited for them to lower their guard in order to attack. Just then another boy arrives and tells them to be quiet. With authority he asks them whether they think the enemy will care if they start whining like that on the real battlefield. He emphasizes that a swordsman does not act in such a pathetic way. This so arrogant attitude annoys the brat, but his companion asks him to calm down, saying that that red-haired swordsman is someone important. The little redhead approaches our protagonist and asks him whether he is the son of the princess of the sword Farah. Arel confirms it. Then the redhead supposes that he must have inherited some innate talent from her in order to fight that well even without a class, although really those two are weaklings. Unsheathing his sword and pointing it toward Arel's face, he asks him to fight against him, since he wants to show him, even without a class, how a true swordsman can do it. With this last part, the black-haired brat mentions that the redhead is a relative of the head of the guard. The redhead confirms this, saying that Captain Evans is his father. That name seems somewhat familiar to Arel, who, searching his memory, recalls how a guy would come occasionally to ask his mother for help to hunt demons, although it seems strange to him, since they do not resemble each other at all. The redhead, visibly annoyed, states that his father is an extraordinary person. However, Arel's mother is always considered the number one swordsman of the village, something he finds unacceptable, and since children inherit the talents of their parents, he plans to defeat Arel and prove that his family is stronger than Arel's. He makes it clear that he has been training for a year and that he has already reached intermediate level skills. For that reason, he knows there is no way that Arel can beat him. Arel tells him that he understands that he respects his father and that he has made considerable efforts as a swordsman. However, his mother also taught him to handle the sword, so he does not intend to lose either. With both of them firmly brandishing their swords, they begin the duel. The redhead starts to attack. Our protagonist blocks and repels each one of the attacks. This fight looks quite even, which astonishes the brats, who compare the duel to the clash of a thunderstorm. They ask themselves whether that guy is truly classless, since he is holding out against someone with intermediate skills. For his part, Arel recognizes that the redhead is considerably stronger than the other two, but he notices a deficiency. His anger is making his strikes far too careless. Therefore, he plans to take advantage of this. Finding the exact moment, he stops protecting himself and attacks. However, the guy counters this by making use of a skill double blade slash. 2 gusts of air. Arel manages to block one, but the other impacts his body. And while Arel is on the ground, the redhead looks at him and admits that it is astonishing that he was able to block that from so close, although in the end the redhead landed a hit. Arel, in pain, asks him what that was and how he managed to attack from 2 places at once. The guy explains to him that it is an attack skill double blade slash, a technique that releases 2 cuts in a single attack, so someone without a class like Arel will not be able to defend against that. After their fight, the days go by. Arel is sleeping. His sister tries to wake him with a kiss. However, at that instant, Arel gets up. Now we see him sitting at the table with his family. After finishing eating, his sister asks him whether he will once again do special training. Arel confirms it, but she tells him that he does not have to work so hard, because she will create a world where he can live in total comfort. Arel only smiles and lets them know that he is going to train. This worries the sister, since she has seen how he has been going out until late ever since that day when he came home beaten up. His mother reassures her and assures her that her brother will be fine. She asks her to come along, and behind the house, upon opening a trunk, they find a pile of broken swords. The mother explains to her that those are all the training swords that Arel has been using every day. This surprises the little one. Then the mother comments that training with other boys of Arel's same age seems to have motivated him a lot. The sister is glad that her dear little brother truly has not gotten discouraged despite not having a class. But even so, she does not intend to abandon her objective of creating a kinder world for her dear little brother. On the other hand, our protagonist was training his attacks. In one of those, he tries the double blade slash successfully. In his mind, he thinks that it was worth it to receive all those blows on purpose just to learn. While Arel was wandering in his mind, a goblin was watching him from the bushes. Suddenly, it launches itself to attack our protagonist. Nevertheless, Arel notices this and, using the technique double blade slash, finishes off the goblin. All of a sudden, deep in the forest, he hears an overwhelming roar from some kind of large monster. Disconcerted, he was thinking of notifying the guard. Nevertheless, from that very direction he hears a child scream. Understanding that there is no time to ask for help, he takes courage and goes into the immense forest. There he finds the same red-haired boy quite badly wounded, and in front of him a hobgoblin. Confused, he asks himself why the boy is in that place, although just then he also sees a training target with a sword, so he understands that the boy has been doing the same thing as he has. Our protagonist observes everything carefully from the bushes, thinking of a plan to defeat that hobgoblin. When the monster was about to finish off the boy, Arel interferes and, using the double blade slash, finishes off the hobgoblin. The boy recognizes him and was about to say something, but being very badly wounded, he nearly collapses. Arel holds him, and realizing that his divine protection is exhausted and that his holy water is spilled, he gives him some of his own. Upon drinking that liquid, in an instant the boy recovers, and the first thing he does is to ask Arel about that technique he has just used. Our protagonist answers that it is the same technique as his. The boy tells him that that is impossible, since that technique is a complex move that can only be achieved by having that skill. Arel confirms that it was complex, but that is why he worked harder to learn it. This confuses the redhead. Therefore, Arel, in simple words, tells him that anyone with sufficient strength and speed can do it if they calculate the timing well, since the power comes from the momentum. Moreover, he tells him that in reality the boy is the only reason why he realized this in the first place. That makes the boy blush. Arel tells the boy that in their previous fight he learned a lot by watching him up close. He confesses to him that he has thought about him every day since then. This is already escalating too much, but well, this surprises and makes the boy nervous. Arel, with his hand on his chest, tells him that he hates losing and that is why he trained hard to be ready when they faced each other again. The boy understands and proposes a rematch right at that very instant. Both draw their swords and the fight begins. The boy uses his double slash technique, but he is astonished to see that Arel not only blocks it, but also launches a third strike that wounds him in the shoulder. Disconcerted, he complains that the technique should be of 2 cuts. Arel answers that his own is not limited by any class and that it can change and improve according to his own abilities. The boy, annoyed, insists that it is not possible whatsoever for someone without a class to be stronger than a real swordsman. Arel, tired of arguing, challenges him properly once again. Thus both execute the technique one more time. However, Arel is faster and achieves a third cut that sends the boy to the ground. With the sword pointing toward him, he reminds him that now the situation has been reversed. The boy asks how he did it, and Arel explains that it was thanks to him, since by observing his style he managed to adjust and improve his own slash. Frustrated, the boy remains on the ground while Arel departs saying, "I won." After a few days, during a dinner, Arel learns that Evans's son traveled to Brescia, the city of swords. His mother says that she previously worked there in a guild, brandishing the sword every single day. Upon hearing this, Arel asks himself how strong he could become without having a class of his own. If you'd like to support the channel, you can subscribe and give it a like. See you next time.